Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are lucky enough to be here for the October 2019 PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting from Attorney Computer Systems, where today we are talking about viewing active users. Mary Jo is going to take that topic. You wouldn't believe how often people misunderstand that functionality. And I'm going to talk about the new NetDocuments integration that was just introduced into PracticeMaster, or between PracticeMaster and NetDocuments. And so now, without further ado, I am going to hit all the right buttons to get me out of this screen and get me to a point where Mary Jo can start to talk about view active users. Oh, Mary Jo, I must have closed up PracticeMaster.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't see it anywhere.
Well, let me get you back in there.
Back in here.
Uh-huh. There we go. We'll log in as Ron and go for it, Mary Jo.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the view active users and the function and why you would need to see that. So view active users is located up here at the top of this window. And let me get out of here real quick just to say, okay, I did that. It's just slow, being slow today. But up here on the view button up here and then active user list, we have an active user list. It's going to show us everybody who is currently logged in to PracticeMaster. And in this case right now, Ron is the only person that's logged in. If we go down to the All Systems button down here in the lower left, we can see who's logged into all of the programs. So we have whether they're in Tabs or whether they're in General Ledger or any of the other programs that you're in, you'd have a list of all of your users that are currently logged into the system. If they were in the system more than one time, you would see them on here listed twice. So you might see Ron in here in PracticeMaster, and he's in the system menu, maybe he's in the calendar menu, or he's in the calendar and the fee window, or different windows here. You would be able to see exactly who's logged in at any given time and what they're logged into. In the detail mode, it's going to tell you exactly what activity they are doing in that module that they're in. If you have multiple users, like you may have Ron listed in here 3 or 4 times, and he might be in several different activities, but you want to find out how many users you actually have logged into the system. If you go to the summary version instead, you can click this little summary button here, and it will just reduce down. Now, it's not going to change because we've only got one person in each program, but it will tell us how many users are logged into each program and which users that is. So we can see that the blank users in the General Ledger menu and in Tabs 3, and we can see that Ron is in PracticeMaster. If we were in the summary view and they were in multiple activities, this current activity would change to multiple activities so that you could see that. The reason that we want to see this sometimes is maybe a user gets that message that pops up that says duplicate users have been found. Do you want to reset this user? And they can't figure out why they're getting that message. So sometimes that message is given because maybe the receptionist was logged in on the receptionist computer, but then she went somewhere else and logged into a different computer, and she forgot to log out of the other computer at the front desk. Or maybe somebody was covering the front desk from their computer, and they forgot to log out on their computer. And so they're in there twice, and it's popping up and saying, well, I see you're still logged in on whatever computer name you have here, and do you want to reset that other user? Most of the time, why you would get that message is because they have exited the program incorrectly, either by choice or not. I mean, maybe they, usually not. So if power goes out and they've lost their connection to the server, Tabs still thinks PracticeMaster still thinks that they're logged in, or their computer crashes in the middle of something and they are kind of stuck in PracticeMaster, even though they're not really in. Their computer thinks that they are. So the reasons that you would see that message is basically those kinds of things. So in some instances, we do want to have to reset those users, and we're not going to go into the resetting process and all of that, but you could do that. You could reset a user that's in there twice, but really not. You don't want to just go around and say, oh, Susie forgot to log out when she went to lunch, so I'm going to reset her because I have something I have to do. That you would want to go to Susie's machine and log her out correctly. If you have Platinum, we do have the log out feature, which is really nice, so you can safely log out a user without having to reset them. That's great. If you're in a multi-user system, then you would have to log them out physically, or if they are in there mistakenly twice, you'd have to reset them. The way to find out which user is the current user for yourself, so if I'm logged in right now as Ron, I am the user with the asterisk in front of my name or my user ID. If I had several instances of Ron and one of them was I needed to reset, I could tell which one was my current login by that little asterisk. If you have the blank user, let's pretend that the blank user is in tabs twice and I need to reset one of these. What I would always do is ask that user to log out first, and then that one would fall out and I would know immediately which one was the duplicate, and I could go ahead and I could reset it at that point. So again, we're not really going into the reset process, but this would be a reason to look at the active users. The other reason would be is if you're going to do something exclusive, like a data file integrity check, or you need to get into customization, or if you're in a multi-user system and you have to do a backup or something like that, and you want to just get a quick picture of who's in the software right now, the View Active Users can do that. Now, if you start an exclusive task and people are logged in, it'll give you that list as well as to who has to log out before you can complete that task. And that window looks similar to this in that it will list out the users that are currently in the program. But this is where you would go to just get that ahead of time look and view of who's there. So hopefully that helps a little bit when you're trying to find out who's in the software and trying to find those duplicate users or do something exclusive. You got this quick little window to look at and get that idea.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary Jo. I am going to talk about the new NetDocuments integration. This is a version 19 feature. It was released a little bit after the initial release of version 19. And it's kind of like our World Docs integration. So if you're familiar with that, it's the same sort of concept. So what are we integrating? Well, there's two things that happen with NetDocs integration. When you are in, let's say, the client file, if you have your NetDocuments integration turned on, then you will see a link under Quick Clicks called View NetDocuments Workspace. And so what that's going to do is it's going to take you to a list of the documents in NetDocuments for this particular matter. If I were to get on the ADA employment issue where I happen to know I have some NetDocuments documents stored in NetDocuments, I click that link. It wants me to authenticate, and for some reason, you know what? I guess I forgot to take care of this one small thing. Let me get into my password manager real quick, and then that should log me into NetDocuments as Paul at Paul Purdue, which is my demo account. And so it pops up NetDocuments, logs you in if you have a password manager, and takes you to the list of documents for that particular matter. This is a NetDocuments view that shows me my documents grouped by doc type. Okay, so in this example, I have 3 documents in NetDocuments for Michael Larson's ADA employment issue. Now, if I go ahead and close up the browser, I'm back into PracticeMaster. For those of you that are familiar with the World Docs integration, I will talk about one way that this is different. In World Docs, it'll pop up a list of World Docs documents, but it lays on top of PracticeMaster, keeping you from getting back to PracticeMaster till you've either opened a document from World Docs or closed up that view. This NetDocuments integration is different. It will pop up that list, as we just saw, and take me into NetDocuments. I guess I shouldn't have closed my browser. But we'll pretend that I'm in my list. I can still switch back and forth between NetDocuments and PracticeMaster without having to close the NetDocuments window. Let's just authenticate real quick here. There we go. Seriously, why is Dashlane? Because it was closed. And Mary Jo's telling me what I didn't keep it open. Let me get back in here real quick. So it'll take me back into NetDocuments, show me the list of documents, but I can then switch back and forth between PracticeMaster and NetDocuments and not have to close this NetDocuments window to get there. So if you've got the World Docs integration or you've seen it, this is different and in my mind much better because it's not popping up a window on top of PracticeMaster that then must be dealt with in order to get back to the underlying PracticeMaster data. You simply switch between them, and you've got both of them open at the same time. Another thing that's really cool about the NetDocuments integration is that it brings these documents right into PracticeMaster. So you will have, if you wish, a NetDocuments tab in your client screen or a NetDocuments view in your Matter Manager, and clicking it will actually go out and get those NetDocuments documents and show them right here in a tab in PracticeMaster with the ability to build filters and column layouts and even quick views based on the types of things that you want to do quick views on. So here's a quick view by document type. Here's a quick view by file type. There's the JPEG. There's the 2.docx files. Here's one by creator. All these fields are coming from NetDocuments, and this data doesn't really live in PracticeMaster, but it's being displayed within the client screen. And I find that to be extremely helpful as well, because many firms want the documents, even though they're coming from NetDocuments, to be something that shows as part of the complete client record. So even if I have the Matter Manager open, and I will then see NetDocuments documents in my All Activities view, I'll have a NetDocuments view. I am on the ADA employment issue, so there's that. And the All Activity view will show me the documents as well. So that's kind of cool to have these NetDocuments documents interspersed in this chronological order with everything else that's going on in the matter. Another way that the NetDocuments integration is just a little bit more sophisticated than the WorldDocs integration. Now, how does this get configured, and what's the other way that it integrates? Because I said one was for showing the documents, and the other is for making sure that the matters and clients that are entered into PracticeMaster and Tabs make it over to NetDocuments without anybody having to enter them a second time. So the third way of integration, or the second way of integration, the first one being showing the documents either in a tab in PracticeMaster or in a link to the NetDocuments workspace. The other way is to hook it up so that when you add a matter or add a client or change a client name or change a matter description, those changes or additions are pushed over automatically and in the background to NetDocuments. And that's configured here through the NetDocuments integration. So if you type NETD, that's enough to get you to the NetDocuments integration in the search actions field. And there's two things you set up. You set up the firm configuration. So I'm not going to disable it. This would be enable access, and it would simply allow me to put in my administrative username and password, something that gives PracticeMaster administrative level to my NetDocuments repository. Allows me to pick which repository. It's unusual for a law firm to have more than one repository, but it happens. So there's the ability to pick the repository and the ability to pick whether you're using a separate client and matter field in NetDocuments or you're combining them kind of like they are already in PracticeMaster and Tabs. And then, of course, picking which fields represent the client and matter. That's kind of a given, but for some firms there are reasons to change that. And then you sync. So if you set this up and you've already got 1,000 matters in PracticeMaster and Tabs, and you set it up to sync to NetDocuments, you then run the sync, and it takes all those existing matters and existing clients and pushes them over to NetDocuments in about 30 seconds. Then, from that point forward, as long as this firm level access is not disabled, every time somebody adds a matter to PracticeMaster or a client or changes a client name or changes a matter description, it's automatically pushing up to NetDocuments. It's very cool. Now, you also then, if users are going to have that access to the documents, which doesn't have to happen. Some firms don't want users to access NetDocuments documents through PracticeMaster, or they don't want certain users to do that. But for each user that you set up, you need to do that, you need to specify their credentials, their username and password. So the setup is relatively easy. Now, I'm going to point out one more way that this is different and, in my mind, better than the WorldDocs integration. The WorldDocs integration needs to be set on for any user that might add a matter or change a matter description or change a client name or add a new client. If you have 20 people in your firm and only 19 are set up to integrate with World Docs and that 20th person adds a matter, it's not going to make it over to World Docs. With NetDocuments, you set up the integration first on a firm basis, and that's what handles getting those matters and clients and changes to work descriptions and client names over to NetDocuments. Once that's been done for one administrative user, it doesn't matter whether the user that's adding the matter actually has user access to the documents. They can still add a matter and it will be pushed over to NetDocuments. That's huge from a configuration standpoint, and it's also huge from a not having the user's access accidentally disabled like you can sometimes in the World Docs integration and not know it until you discover that that matter didn't make it over to World Docs, which is the exact wrong time to figure out that your matter has not made it over to the right place. So you do set up firm level access, and that's set up once for one administrative user, and that's all that's necessary to push those changes. And then if you further want your users to be able to see documents from the NetDocuments repository, either directly within the Matter Manager or the client screen in PracticeMaster, or through that link to what's called the NetDocuments workspace. And there you have it, the integration with PracticeMaster and NetDocuments. Okay, that's that. Next month, we are talking about text macros. Mary Jo is going to take that topic. We don't talk about it often enough, and sometimes people have questions, and a lot have lately, so we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to take the topic of find and replace, how to use find and replace effectively within the lists within PracticeMaster to change things that may need to be changed globally, or at least for a certain range of matters or calendar items or whatever list you happen to be looking at. And of course, we know it just wouldn't be the same if I didn't take you to attorneycomputersystems.com. Notice, of course, the emphasis on that last S in the word systems, because without it, you don't get to the right place. If you will hover over or click on the videos link, if you hover it, you get the short list. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to get the long, big page list. You will see the 6 titles that we have in our video library. You'll notice at the top that we have 4 of them that are live. We have 3 virtual user group meetings. You are currently in the PracticeMaster virtual user group. We also have a virtual user group for Tabs3 and a virtual user group for World Docs. And I have my monthly Coffee Pot webinar series where I invite somebody in from another company, a third-party company that has a product or service that enhances the value of one of our core products, which would be Tabs or PracticeMaster or World Docs or NetDocuments or Cosmolex. So people that have, payroll services that hook into Tabs, or document comparison software that works in NetDocuments or World Docs or both, they will come into this meeting, this webinar. They'll talk about their company. They'll talk about their product. They'll demonstrate it. They'll talk about pricing, and they'll answer questions. So those are our 4 live events. And then we also have our 2 pre-recorded titles. Mary Jo has her eBytes video series where we take things that are really cool that we know we can explain in, let's say, 2 or 3 minutes. And we record a short eByte video. She records 3 of these each month, 1 on Tabs, 1 on PracticeMaster, 1 on World Docs. And then for things that take a little longer to explain, we have the longer format Paul and Mary Jo show, where either I or Mary Jo will take a broader topic and spend 10 or 15 or sometimes 20 minutes to go into the weeds on the product and really get to the root of the issue and explain everything that there is to know about whatever that particular feature or function or functionality is. We record 1 of those a month. So there you have it. Let's take a look just at the underlying information. So we're in the PracticeMaster virtual user group, so I will take you to that page where we will see the title of the video series, the description of the video series as a whole. Since it's a live event, we'll see information about the next regularly scheduled event. So here's our information about the November PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting. Since it's a live event, we will have the 4 fields that you can fill out and the register button. And then as you scroll down on these live event pages, that's where you get to the recorded versions of those live events. Of course, when you go to the pre-recorded pages, that's all you get is the pre-recorded versions. You'll notice that this is actually the webinar that we're in right now, the virtual user group meeting we're in, so we list it as being currently in post-production, and it will show up on the site in about a week or 2, depending on our volume of work that our post-production video guy has to be doing at that point. If we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see that this is page 1 of 26, and there's about 5 or 6 videos on a page. So we got a lot of videos. We've got somewhere between 800 and 900 videos among the 6 titles and the old rants that we used to do. And so there's a lot of content specifically about those products and the ancillary products. So they're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They're completely free of charge. There is no charge at all to use these videos. So you can even search them. There's a little magnifying glass up here. You type a word, and it'll look for that word in the description or title of the videos. So please take advantage of these. They're here for you to use, to browse, to get ideas, to discover new things that you didn't know you could do. So please take advantage of them. That's it for today. Everybody have a good rest of the day and a good rest of the month, and we will see you in November. Bye-bye.